Hello students, today we will be doing with the topic errors in measurement. When we talk of the errors in measurement, then generally the thing comes in our mind is the experiments that we do in our lab. So what exactly happens when we do the experiment? We take a number of times, suppose if we are doing an experiment to find out the diameter of wire, then you all know that we take the diameter, we take the readings 5 times, 4 times, and we do it just because we want to have the minimum error in the measurement. So let's see what exactly is error, what problems we generally face, what types of errors are there in the measurement, and based on this we will discuss how we can have the different method of expressing the error. Now let us first categorize this error in measurement into two broad categories. These two broad categories are systematic and random. Now when we talk of the systematic error, first let us discuss. So there are two broad categories, one is systematic, the other one is the random. When we talk of the systematic errors, then this error occur constantly. Generally it occurs in an experiment under the same condition, that is the identical condition. And this problems comes many times. Generally we face this problem, systematic error, which is further subdivided into three different categories. That is, first is the instrumental, next is the error due to imperfection, then the gross error. So let us discuss one by one what it is all about. What is generally, when we talk of the instrumental error, then what really comes in our mind, that when we suppose if we are doing with the screw gauge or if we are doing with the vernier caliper, so what exactly comes in the problem generally what we face, that there is a zero error. This is the first thing that we try to get it checked, whether the instrument is free from any errors or not, that is whether it is having a zero error or not. So that is the first steps towards. So if all these problems arises because of the imperfections in the device, then it is what we call the instrumental error. And this is can be the backlash error, it can be the defective alignment of the instrument. So many things we can have in this particular category, that is due to the instrumental, and this is a very common type of error that is generally seen when we do the measurement. This is a very common error that is generally we see. So this is all about the instrumental error. So let me just brief up once more for the instrumental. It is mainly due to the imperfection in the device, that is maybe it has got due to the backlash error, due to wear and tear, the zero is not into the proper shape, it means it is having some sort of zero error. The next is error due to imperfection. Now if suppose if we take an instrument which is free from all errors, it means that it is free from all imperfection, I mean it is perfection, I mean there is no error. Then if we take the measurement from them, let us take for example, we are taking the we are measuring the heat energy, or we are trying to find out the temperature by taking care of the heat experiment, in a heat experiment. Now in this case generally we do it in the calorimeter, then in this case there may be heat loss due to radiations. Now we cannot have a check of this loss in radiations, so that is the reason what we call is the error due to imperfection. So in simple language, this error occurs due to the imperfection of the apparatus used in an experiment. So it is mainly due to that reason this error occurs. Okay, the next one, the last one, is the gross error. When we talk of the gross error, what exactly is seen, that maybe the experimenter, when we talk of the gross error, this is the gross error. When we talk about it, then this error generally arises whenever there is an experimenter makes a mistakes. Maybe he will have the improper adjustment, he doesn't know how to adjust, or he will make a computational mistake. So these are the three types of errors that comes under the systematic. Now let us talk about the random. When we talk about the random, then what is this the condition? This is a very common common error that generally arises, and it mainly arises because of the two different reasons. Well, the first one is just because the small changes in the conditions of the experiment, that is And number two, that we find that there is an incorrect adjustment of the observer in taking the readings. While taking the readings, he has not taken care of the proper way of taking the reading. So he faced problems, and he or she faced problem, and there is a reading not coming in a proper shape. There is an error. And generally we have got the method of minimizing this random error. How we can minimize the random error? Suppose if we take if we are doing with an experiment, we take a number of times the different experiment, we take more and more times, maybe 4 times, 5 times, we repeat the same experiment, then we can minimize this random error. This can be minimized. Now let us do with mathematical relation, how we can have a way that we can solve the problem of method of expressing the error. So generally we have got 4 different types: absolute error, mean absolute error, and then we have got the fractional or relative error. Now in this category, and the last one comes the percentage error. Now in this category, let us do with the absolute error. In the absolute error, what is the general formula that we write? We write delta A is equals to A minus or the difference of A measured, whatever reading has been measured over here. Now in this case, there is a time, this is the true value. Suppose in the simple pendulum experiment, we know the value of the acceleration due to gravity, the true value is 9.8, so we can do with it. But there are some experiment where we don't get the value of this. So what exactly we do? We take a number of readings, we get a mean of it, and then we can get delta A1 as equals to A mean minus A1, delta A2 is equals to A mean minus A2. Like that we find out the value of the absolute error. This is the general way finding out the absolute error. Let us talk about the mean absolute error. By mean absolute, suppose if we have taken some values here, delta A1, delta A2, so what we really write for this particular mean absolute error, we write delta A1, that is the mean. So we will take all the positive values of this A1 which we had measured. Delta A1 are already delta A1 plus delta A2 dot dot, we take all different values and then divide it by n, the number of times we have taken. So this is the values we are taking. Modulus means we are not taking up the negative sign, we are taking only the positive signs, we are adding it up by the number of times we have taken. This is how we find out the mean absolute error. The third category comes with the fractional error. Here what we do, generally whatever value we have taken here, that is delta A mean divided by A. That is, it can be the A can be the mean value also, we can write it. And when we have the percentage error, then this is delta A bar divided by A and multiply it by 100, we get the percentage error. So this is how 4 different ways we can find out the errors. So first one, second one, third one, and fourth. You are given us some numerical problems. Based on this, we can very well find out the expressions, that is method of expressing the error. Now let us talk about the significant figures. When we talk about the significant figures, what exactly comes in our mind? Just let us see one by one all the things that we have here for the significant figures. Now all the non-zero digit numbers are significant figures. You can very well see that 12.638, it has got 5 significant figures. There is no zero. So whatever be the non-zero digit are significant figures. Next is all zeros between 2. So 1 and 5 are the non-zero digits, and in between whatever zero comes will be counted as the significant figures. That is the next step. Then the third step, all zeros to the right of a non-zero digit having no decimal points are not significant number. Like for example, 86400 has got only 3 significant figures, but there is a special case tagged up with it. Suppose if we are measuring the measurement, if the zero arises due to measurement, then it becomes significant. For example, suppose if we measure the number of seconds in a day, then how we go for it? 24 hours, then converted into minutes, 60 multiplied by 60, and then into seconds. So here we can get the value 86400. So here in this case, as because we are doing it with the measurement, so it has got 5 significant figures, but in the earlier case we spoke about only 3 significant figures. So we will have to see what exactly we are taking the case. Based on this, we can write. The next one, what we have, all zeros to the right of a non-zero digit, but on the left decimal has significant figures. For example, 86400 has 5 significant figures. And the last one, all zeros to the right of a decimal, 56.00, 56.0. Before that we have got a non-zero digit, so that again it has got 4 significant figures. So this is how we do with the significant figures. It's very simple to do. The only thing that you need to understand that what you are taking about. Now, why the significant figures are important? The significant figures are important because when we have to do with the experiment, we are sometimes asked to write down the answer in the form of a significant figure. So there we completely use the significant figures. Hope you have understood everything. Thank you for the class. Thank you.